you do what you want. It's your game. You can play the way you want to play. I mean, what if you do that, what matters? Why are you even playing this game if you're not going to follow the rules? You need to follow the rules, and I want somebody who knows the rules really well so that when I say, hey, what happens when these two cards interact? Then they're like, well, obviously, they follow Rule 7B, and that is why they connect in this way. And I'll be like, great, perfect. As long as they're not, you need to put all your pieces in a line, otherwise it's an invalid move.
So that's the person I'm talking about. For rules lawyer.
The Big Lebowski.
It's time for the Sultan Sass podcast, when we share our love for the wonderful world of board games with you, whether you're a gaming veteran or just starting your tabletop journey. Welcome to episode 11. I'm Suzanne.
I'm Mandi.
And dun-da-da-da, we have a very special guest.
Hi there, I'm Eric Summerer. It's great to be hanging out with you.
Eric, it's so lovely to have you. Of course, you are our very first guest to ever have on our new podcast, Eric.
Exactly.
This is amazing. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you. I've been enjoying listening to the show. I'm maybe an episode behind. So if there's something really amazing that you talked about last episode, and I pretend like I don't know that you said it, that's what happened.
Yes, because last episode was definitely not the episode in which we trash talked you a whole bunch.
Absolutely.
Knowing that you were going to guess this one. So don't worry about it. You didn't miss anything at all. Nothing. Excellent. We're all good.
Yeah. I'll take your word on that. Perfect.
So, folks, for those of you who may not be familiar with Mr. Summer, which I assume all of y'all listening right now know quite well, Eric, you and I and Mandi and Tom Vassal were all co-hosts of the Dice Tower podcast for a number of years together.
Yeah.
We just talked about how much time has passed, and it's what is time anyway? We did that for many years. We were in the trenches. We crossed over on each other's episodes. We went to conventions. We hung out. We laughed. We had pastries. So
and
many
weird
wonderful
sodas
things.
from
and
other
weird
countries.
Sodas.
Yes, indeed.
So I'm delighted to get to hang out with the two of you again. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining, Eric. It's great to have you here, of course. And as you know, well, even though we are a board gaming podcast, Mandi has a certain amount of pent-up energy every month that we have to let her unleash around the digital space.
Yes, I feel, though, that I've been behaving myself. It's only been a few, but...
No, you haven't.
But I have to share the spotlight this time, so I will not go first. I will defer to our guest, Eric, to share and delight us with what video or digital games you've been playing.
I never get to talk about video games, so I'm very excited. I'm going to start with a mystery game called The Case of the Golden Idol. Have either of you played this one?
No. I'm listening.
But yes.
So this is available on Steam. I think you can get it on Mac as well, but it's primarily a PC sort of experience. You are solving mysteries that are presented as sort of a tableau. So here's a scene of like the first one is some guy's pushing another guy off a cliff. And you get to zoom in on what that person is holding and what they're thinking, and zooming in on this rock over here in the corner. And as you do so, you collect vocabulary, which you then ultimately have to slot into what happened in the scene. So-and-so pushed so-and-so off the cliff, off the coast of this island, and you're trying to figure it all out. And that one is relatively simple, but as you work your way through the game, it gets more and more complex. So it's a real mystery clue gathering experience. And I think there's a twist. I have not finished the game yet, but I think it gets a little twisty near the end. A very distinctive art style, but if you like mystery games and deduction, The Case of the Golden Idol is one to check out.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I instantly am interested in that. So thanks for bringing it up. Here's a question for you. Age level, because sometimes those kinds of games I like to play with my kiddo, but it sounds like it opens right up with a murder.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of murder and bloodshed. So
noted.
this would not be a family experience.
Fair.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you definitely will. It's very pixelated, and it's like
Okay.
I said, a very distinctive art style. So it's not realistic, but
Got it.
there's the guy falling off the cliff is like and so it's not a pleasant family gaming sort of thing to do.
Noted.
Yeah.
Noted.
And the other thing I wanted to talk about: have either of you played a puzzle game called The Witness?
Yes.
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I've played it.
The Witness came out almost like 10 years ago, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
I played it on the
What is
PlayStation
time?
4. Yeah, I know. It's available, I think, on multiple platforms. But the game I want to talk about is called The Looker. This is a parody of The Witness. So The Witness is you are a single person. It's a first-person experience. You're
Okay.
wandering around an island, and you're solving puzzles that appear on panels throughout the island. And you never meet anyone else. No one ever talks to you. You just sort of intuit how the puzzles are supposed to work based on what you've seen before. And in fact, certain areas are locked off to you until you figured out how a puzzle works. It's really fascinating how it all works. It's an
Mhm.
excellent game. I wholeheartedly recommend The Witness. But The Looker
Yeah.
is a parody of that game that also was on Steam, and it was free when I picked it up a
Oh.
few weeks ago. So you might be able to still get it for free. And it parodies. It's not nearly as robust as the full game, but it also is a puzzle game where you're trying to solve panels and complete mazes, and it's got a real tongue-in-cheek approach to the whole thing, and you can finish it in a few hours. So
Okay.
you could use it after you played The Witness if you want to laugh at the stuff in The Witness, or as sort of a sampler platter, you could try The Looker out, and then if you like that, then go check out The Witness. Either way, play both. They're both great.
Oh.
They sound great. Thanks
Yeah.
for the. I really enjoyed The Witness, so I'll get some of the reference
Oh,
points.
now I
for
have to
the
try
Looker.
both, but you said some magic words there: puzzle, solving, and free.
And there you go.
So,
Yes.
I love it. Well, unfortunately, not free. I've been playing a ton of Nobody Saves the World.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'm playing with my 10-year-old,
Okay.
and I got it on sale, and I introduced
wait.
him to it.
Wait, you bought it?
Yes.
It's on Game Pass.
No,
for
it's not.
free. Yes, it is.
No, it's not. No, it's
I've
not.
been playing it.
Okay, well, let's argue about it later. But I have it, no matter what, I have it, and we've been playing it a ton. It is basically an action game in which you're running around and you get a character that has different special attacks, and it's almost a Zelda-like as you're going through, and
Yeah.
you've got your thing. But the Nobody is the actual name of the character, and you start off as kind of this weird blank character, but then as you progress, you unlock different characters that you get to play as Nobody. So you can play as a horse, or as a slug, or as a turtle, or as a mermaid, or as a warrior, or like a dragon, and it's just all these different things. And they all have different special abilities. They all have separate quests to level them up and things like that. And you can play couch co-op. So my kiddo's running around as the warrior while I'm sliding around as the slug, so I can lay the path, right? Because I have to be the one that goes ahead to lay the slime path to weaken the enemy so that he can come in swinging the sword. You see how this works?
That sounds fun.
It's very,
It's a
very
fun
fun,
game.
and we've really been enjoying it. So yeah, so we've been playing Nobody Saves the World.
So is that only on Xbox, or can
No,
you get
it's
it on
on
multiple?
Nintendo
No, it's on
Switch, it's on-
PC.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's been super fun.
Cool.
Yeah. No, I started playing. Wait, is that the one where you start off as like a rat or something?
Yeah, you can be a rat too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I started playing it, and then anyway, long story short, I dropped it, but I'm sure I'll head back to it. Well, I've had a light couple of weeks, everybody. I finally finished Stray.
Oh, the
I-
kitty cat game, eh?
I can't even tell you. I think about it because it'll ruin it. I'm just gonna end with a and leave it there. Okay. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a good sigh or a bad sigh?
I will leave that up to you to interpret,
Oh.
but I'm definitely hoping there will be a sequel.
on our own.
That's right.
Mhm.
I recently, so people know that I picked up a PlayStation 5. I had never owned a PlayStation before, but I got it for the exclusives. So I picked up the Uncharted series, which I've heard so many people talk about. And there's a movie, the Tom Holland movie. I just watched. I'm like, oh yeah, that was that. I
Yeah.
didn't know that was based on the video game. So I started playing it, and I have to tell you, I'm like really liking it because it's a lot of like puzzle solving and adventuring, and I am here for it. So I've started like the backstory into the main character. I think his name's Nathan or something like that. Loving it so
Nathan
far.
Drake.
Nathan Drake. See, Eric knows the things. Thank you. Yeah, so really, really fun. Liking it so far. I just started, so we'll see how it goes. I did pick up Last of Us 2. I played Last of Us 1, but because I've been watching the show, which is so good, I just have to say, Pedro Pascal, swoon. Amazing. So I'm like, okay, I should probably play number 2. I have it, I just haven't played it. So starting that, and I've been playing a lot of Potion Craft. So Potion Craft, it's actually on Xbox Game Pass that just launched there, but I had actually previously purchased it on Steam for PC. And oh my gosh, it's literally as it sounds. You're making potions for people coming into your shop. It's like, so I need a potion that will make me extra strong against enemies. And so you have a map that you have to traverse to try and make these potions, but you need specific types of plants to get there. So some of the plants might only take you left, or some of the plants might only take you right or up or down. And so you have to use like a concoction of plants to make a path to get to the potion you need to make on your map. And here's the thing, some of them are not discovered yet. So you kind of have to keep traversing the map in order to open it up to find these different types of potions. Otherwise, your customers are going to be a little unhappy. So Potion Craft, so fun and a little addictive.
Noted.
All right.
Well, an episode with me is always very exciting. So I thought, let's do a What Would You Rather? And why not do it with Eric?
Oh, okay.
Should I be afraid?
Slightly, yes. Maybe just a little.
Slightly, yes. Thank you.
So it's game related. And I'm going to ask you a question of what would you rather? And then why? So like, why did you choose that? And if you need some more, information about the scenario that I'm presenting, please ask and I'll see what I can provide. All right. So when first playing a game, would you rather have someone at the table who manages the rules diligently, so aka the rules lawyer, or someone who's a little more nonchalant with the rules, aka the Big Lebowski?
I mean, it sounds like having the Big Lebowski at the table would be an adventure in itself.
That's just like your opinion, man.
But it would probably lead to a place you'd never imagine. You wouldn't be playing the game anymore. You'd be traveling all over town, anyway. So in this scenario, do I know the game that we're playing? Is
No.
This the person that is teaching the game to me?
This is the person that is teaching it. You don't know it. They're teaching it.
Okay. So somebody has to guide this thing to completion. And do I want the laid back, casual teacher or somebody who's going to be strict on everything?
Yes.
This is a continuum. I don't want absolutely strict.
Sure.
But I think I would lean in that direction more than I'd lean toward the person who's just like, you do what you want. It's your game. You can play the way you want to play. I mean, what if you do that, what matters? Why are you even playing this game if you're not going to follow the rules? You need to follow the rules, and I want somebody who knows the rules really well so that when I say, hey, what happens when these two cards interact? Then they're like, well, obviously, they follow Rule 7B, and that is why they connect in this way. And I'll be like, great, perfect. As long as they're not, you need to put all your pieces in a line, otherwise it's an invalid move.
So that's the person I'm talking about. For rules lawyer.
The Big Lebowski.
Done and done.
What about you, Suzanne?
Yeah, without a doubt, I'd much rather have a White Russian and hang out and look up an hour later going, oh, well, I guess we'll try this game now. Then, yeah. And I mean, Eric, I would play a game with you if it's just to spend time in your company, buddy.
Well,
I don't need to, it's nice to play the game, but.
You had me at White Russian.
All right, Mandi.
Oh, you want my opinion? Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely not with the person who's with the rules, I can't. I'm sorry. I think I would actually probably get super irritated with you. Yes, rules are important, but you don't need to be so,
I want to know who
vigilant.
would pick the rules lawyer, because I feel like that'd be pretty rare. But
Well, Mandi's definition of rules lawyer is pretty strict.
Sure.
Yes.
Like I'm doing extremes here, and I did that up on purpose to kind of make you think about it. Like, what are the pros? What are the
Yeah.
cons? And
If you had to pick one extreme over the other, I'd rather have the person who's there to have fun and just go with the
Yes.
flow than and is willing to just let me build a pyramid out of my pieces because that seems to work. Than someone who's going to yell at me the whole time.
Well, this is it. And I think the rules lawyer is the person I might call after I've played that game.
I like that
The
approach.
post-game resource. I like
Post-game
I like it.
resource. I'm here for that.
Well, thank you for that, Mandy, for the game. Now, Eric, you know that everyone, we try to talk about crowdfunding projects. So I know Mandy has one, and I have one we want to mention. Not going to put you under the spotlight for this, but bear with us while we talk about our
I
crowdfunding
will bear
adventures.
away. I actually went back to see if there were any projects that I was super interested in, and while I've backed a few that I'm waiting on, there wasn't anything like right now that
Fair enough.
I was
Well,
going to
maybe you'll change your mind after we chat you up.
Convince me.
Convince you. Okay. Well, I had to pare down the list. I'm trying to be much better about
boy.
crowdfunding. So we'll try this. Now, this one actually has not launched yet, but mind you, no, it won't actually have launched by the time this podcast airs, but it's called Pride and PrejuDice.
I'm sold.
Prejudice, I guess.
Done.
The
Convinced.
dice is there.
Mandy,
Yeah.
it launches February 1st. This episode drops February 1st, so we should be fine.
Oh, look at that. So
It's
perfect
live
timing.
now.
You saw and heard nothing.
Exactly. So there you go. February 1st, and it's on for about 20 days. And this is designed by Jamie Hargreaves, and it's published by Benny Sterling. So it is
Sperling.
what did I say?
Sterling, like silver.
No, I said Sperling.
You did? Okay, it sounded like Sterling.
No, I
I'll
said
just shut up now. Sorry.
I thought you said Sterling too.
Okay, fine. Sperling and Benny, I'm so
Eric,
sorry.
I love having you on the show, babe. This is
Wow.
amazing. I love this.
Although that could have been the ADHD where in my brain I thought I said Sperling and I probably did say Sterling. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? Benny, I'm so sorry.
Pride and
Benny
Prejudice.
Sperling.
You can do it.
Well, voila, don't rush me. I'm getting there. I got to take my time. Okay. So it's like a roll and well, it is. It's roll and write. And it's a game that you're playing with dice. Yay! So you've got different colored dice, and there are specific rules for solo, and there are rules for 2 to 5 players. And guess what? Even plays for 6. And there's a focus on dice combos, and has a Regency Jane Austen theme. FYI, love Jane Austen. So I am here for this. The page I think is up. There's like a, what do you call them? The page where you can just go and kind of take a peek at it, like a pre-launch page,
The preview page.
preview page. Yeah, where it talks about it in a little more detail. Not gonna lie to you, it already had me at Jane Austen. Let's be clear. But it has a sheet where you have ladies, gentlemen. And so you have a variety of ways to play and hey, and who you'd like to play as. And they even have blank sheets for players to create their own. Heyo, very exciting. So the theme alone had me, but check it out when this launches if you want a little more detail. But I know work from Benny has been really, really great. So Jamie Hargreaves, I don't, do I know anything from Jamie?
Well, I think. Well, now I have to go search it up.
No,
Darn it.
it's okay. I feel like I have, and I'm just like, but we'll put a plug in it for now. Come back to it if we remember. But that's Pride and, I think it's Pride and Prejudice, but I'm going to say Pride and PrejuDice.
I think you have to say it, Pride and
Yeah,
PrejuDice.
because it has that
You
like
have to.
capital. Yeah, I agree.
You have to, otherwise the pun doesn't work. And as we know, you have to say puns correctly if you want them to work.
And irritate Suzanne, yes.
This
Yeah.
actually does sound interesting. My wife is a huge Jane Austen fan. And so this has potential, but this, I need to look at it a little more
Yeah.
closely and make sure it's one she would be interested in
Right.
playing, because I have done that before, bought something that I say, oh, I can play this with Steph, and that it doesn't end up hitting the table.
Right. Aw.
I will look more closely though. Pride and
Excellent.
PrejuDice.
Well,
Yes.
a very different game thematically I wanted to bring up was Manhattan Project War Machine.
Oh,
So-
wow.
Okay.
Yeah, Regency dames and gentlemen. No. So this is for those of you may be familiar with a really well-known game called the Manhattan Project about building this nuclear cycle and things like that. It's got a fairly decent reputation in the hobby board game area. And here we have kind of another game in that family by a new designer, Jan Gonzalez, and the illustrations and graphic designer by Heiko Gunther, who is some of you may know Heiko from their work on the Black Box of Glory to Rome, and just Burgle Brothers, and just so, Heiko's work is phenomenal. And they bring a lot of style to the visuals of this board game. Ultimately, this is just a little engine building game in which you're using dice to take actions. You've got a personal board, so you're gaining like building tiles to generate resources, to turn them into money and that kind of thing. And in some ways, it's a very standard description for a kind of game. I actually got to play a prototype of this one, and the reason why I'm mentioning it is I really like this game. For the type of game it is, it was surprisingly snappy. There's this element where when opponents take actions, you get to ride off of that and take bonus actions yourself. So you're always engaged. You definitely have different directions you can go with the engine that you're building up. So I really ended up liking Manhattan Project War Machine. So that is on Kickstarter now. It runs through February 14th. And if you like engine building games that are extraordinarily stylish and good looking, check it out. That's from Grail Games, Manhattan Project War Machine. Dun, dun, dun. There you go.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we've got our guest Eric. We've been playing games. I think we have some games to talk about, don't y'all?
Oh, so many games.
So, what have you been playing lately?
Okay. Well, now people have been telling me online, Mandi, I thought you didn't like playing solo. Well, I've been playing solo, okay?
So you like playing solo?
I wouldn't go that far.
But are you playing solo space games? That's what I want to know.
See, that's where I draw the line. That is where I draw
I
the
can
line.
give you some recommendations. Okay.
Eric, let's not. You know people are gonna love it, and then I might actually love it, and then my whole like not liking games thing has gone out the window. So
I get it.
Gotta keep up appearances.
Please continue.
So the first game that I played solo, so I haven't played it yet with other people. Suzanne and I will be doing this very soon, is Votes for Women. And this is designed by Tori Brown. Art is by Bridget Endelicato and Mark Rodriguez II. Published by Fort Circle Games. It's for 1 to 4 players, and it plays in about 60 to 75 minutes. I did take a peek on some of the Canadian game sites. It is on pre-order, and I think if you go on the Kickstarter page or their page, it's about $75 US. So this is one of those games that's going to teach you a little bit about history, specifically looking at the specifically American women's suffragette movement from 1848 to 1920. And yes, I had to look that up, everybody, because I didn't know the exact dates. And it's culminating with the ratification or rejection of the 19th Amendment. So I am not American, so it was actually really great to read some of the stuff that I didn't know. The game lasts for 6 turns. That sounds like it's short. It's not. Turns require you having a hand of cards that you're going to go through. So you end up going through 6 cards each turn. I find that a little confusing, but it makes sense when you play the game. In the game, you're going to be campaigning. You're going to be using your cards for their events, which is going to help you get some cubes on the board in order to have majority in states, because eventually you want those states to be on your side. So that way, when you do the ratification, then you're able to say, hey, we've won that state. And once you've won that state, that's it. Like, it can't change that. In the solo game, you play against an Oppobot. So it's a deck of cards. So they also have cards with events on them that have to happen. And, well, let's be clear, they're usually not good. And there is an action in the game that doesn't happen in the first turn, but it does happen after, which can allow the Oppobot to potentially take some of these state cards. There are a few of those at the top, and those state cards are really nice because they get you some benefits. But if the Oppobot gets their hands on it, they do the bad thing that's on the card. And they also have their cards that do bad things. Buttons are really big in this game. So acquiring buttons helps you re-roll dice, which is really important, especially when the Oppobot has to do a roll and you're like, no, we're gonna put lots of buttons up so your roll doesn't really count. And that's great to prevent some really bad things from happening, like getting those state cards or getting the Oh, it just went right out of my head. There are another set of cards that you can get that give you other benefits. Ideally, you want those because they give you good things to help you win the game. And the game ends, or well, you win if you get. I'm doing this off of memory here. I think it's if the opposition gets 13 states, so they get their little X's on the board. And that usually happens when there are 4 of their cubes. They get an X. 13 of those, they win. And I believe it's 32 or 35. I could be wrong on that number, but it's significantly more than the opposition. You need to get those green check marks in specific states on the board, or on states on the board, for you to win the game.
It's a 2/3 majority of the 50 states.
Look at that. See? Exactly. Y'all have so many states. We have provinces and territories. Like, it's small. So, yeah, but no, that's perfectly worded, Eric. So that's just like a brief overview. There are a few other things that happen within the game that allow you to, make that ratification happen and whatnot, but you get the idea. So like I said, I played this solo. So I'm playing it solo. You play against the Oppobot. I didn't find management of this game too much. And I usually always hear me complaining, there's an extra player. I don't like to play. I don't like to manage another player. It's flipping cards and rolling some dice here and there. Didn't mind that at all. For me, that was very easy to follow. I did have some, and I don't know if this is going to be a me thing. The states on the board are small. So I have a general idea of where states are. But as soon as cubes start going on there, or, your little people, because you have people that are on the board, it gets a little hard to see. So I'm like, I know Utah's here somewhere, but where? So
to be fair, most Americans probably wouldn't be able to do too well on that either.
Oh gosh, it's definitely a lesson in geography, because exact geography. So that was probably the one thing that, I found a little troublesome for me, so I have to move cubes to look, and sometimes you end up getting 6 cubes in a state, so it does take up a lot of room. I did like the balance of the game, because I thought, oh my gosh, this Oppobot's just going to keep winning because their events are really bad and they're taking away cubes. I put a cube, it's taking them away, but they do provide other sets of cards which give you opportunity to get ahead. So I really appreciated that balance in there. And the first 3 turns are kind of Sorry. I have to think it turns and round. It's confusing me. I'm sorry. There are 3 cards, let me say it that way, that the Oppobot plays at specific times in the turn for the first in the first turn, because in that way it kind of sets you up nicely, so you're not just getting hard hit with all these really hard cards and then you can't get back from that. So I appreciated that kind of setup. And then you have a start card that sits in your hand, which will give you some abilities to kind of get you started. So I really appreciate that kind of setup before the game gets going. So votes for win for me. I mean, there's a lot going on. And like I said, I only played it solo, which I really enjoyed, but I've heard it's even best at 2. So not too far off. I really liked it. I liked the theme. Loved all the bits that came in there. There were sheets, informational sheets and documents, and original looking documents talking about the movement, and not just the good stuff. Talks about all the things, which is really important. So if you want a little bit of a history lesson and you wanted to learn more through game, Votes for Win, I really enjoyed it and I recommend that you try it out.
I'm excited to play it with you, Mandi.
So good.
It's one I'd like to try as well. It looks really fun.
Yay.
Well, for me, I have a roll and write game to talk about.
Oh, shocker.
Shocker. I know. I would talk about other games. I play other games, but there's just so many roll and write games. I actually ran out of storage space again. So I have a 4x4 Calyx that is only roll and writes. And then there's 2 other cubes next door, and I've run out of that space, so I need to reshelf my roll and write games. Yeah, Eric, just roll and write games.
I didn't say anything.
You made a face. For everybody listening, Eric made a face.
In the audio version, they'll never know.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So today's roll and write game is Dungeon Pages. Ooh. Dungeon Pages, it was a crowdfunded project from PNP Arcade. It's designed by Jason Greeno and Jason Tagmeyer. Jason Tagmeyer, you may know as the owner of Button Shy Games as well, and of course a game designer in his own right. The illustrations here are by Vittorio Pompolani, and this just, it's not too late. You can still go order this game. It's it's a print and play. So it's very, to me, relative to many other games, it's very affordable. And it's one of the reasons I love roll and write games that allow print and play options, because gaming can be an expensive hobby and print and play is a lovely option for many folks. So
Absolutely.
here we have Dungeon Pages. This is a solo game. Mandy, right up your alley. Uh, this is a solo dungeon delve roll and write game. So when you get it, you're going to get a core set. And then one of the other, I'm going to say gimmicks, but not in the negative connotation of gimmick, is that there's a year-long campaign in which every week or at a regular cadence, they are releasing new content for the game for you to explore, new heroes, new dungeons, things like that. So it's really, really cool. You kind of buy the print and play, but then you keep on getting new stuff to refresh it, which is really fun. So you get a character sheet, you get a sheet, and it has a hero at top and then some dungeon blocks at the bottom. And you're just going to use some D6s in 2 different colors. You're going to roll the dice, and then basically you're going to assess by the dungeon you're doing if the values of the dice activate some of the monsters that are in the dungeon, and then you resolve them and they may attack you and things like that. Then you get to mark your die rolls, and you can place the numbers kind of wherever you want, but they consider that like weaponry. And so when you start a game, your character probably only has 1 weapon unlocked, which likely means they can only write a number in the adjacent to the last space that you wrote in. But as you progress, you can unlock more weapons. So maybe you can write 2 spaces away, or maybe you can go over walls or things like that. So weapons that you unlock give you a lot more flexibility in terms of where you can place numbers. And sometimes you want to do adjacent because there's bonuses for full columns and things like that as well. There are treasures and other things. There's keys and potions around that you can get by putting the same number adjacent to it a couple of times. But ultimately, you start at a door and there's a treasure chest at the end, and you want to get a complete path from the door to the treasure chest to escape the dungeon. What you do in between, you may dawdle a little bit because you're trying to unlock other things. Now, on a given page, there's going to be a few basic dungeons and then a boss dungeon. So after you progress through these basic dungeons, you're building up experience. You're unlocking abilities, you're unlocking potions, your new weapons, like I mentioned. And then you go into the big boss dungeon where the gameplay is largely the same, but now you have all this stuff unlocked and you get to tackle it as you go and hopefully win. Who knows how that goes? Sometimes
Hopefully.
you get slaughtered by ghouls, and so be it.
Wow,
You
that
know,
took a
wah,
dark
wah.
turn.
Yeah, it's in many ways it's a very straightforward rule
Right.
set, but it really is in the diversity of the dungeons and the diversity of the heroes and the choices that you get to make in unlocking different things, the choices you make in a given dungeon itself, whether you choose to get the heck out of Dodge, or whether you want to dawdle a little bit and unlock more because you know you're going to go fight the big boss and it's going to be really, really tough. There's also a rule about numbers in progression. So you get bonuses if you can go like 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, if you can keep the numbers semi-sequential,
Right.
you can get bonus for that, but sometimes you can't do that or you choose not to because you want to get out of the all for a fairly straightforward rule set. I think there's a lot of really engaging play, and I'm really enjoying it. And on top of that, yes, you get a sheet with a hero and a dungeon, but there's a dotted line. You can snip it off and you can mix and match heroes with different dungeon sets, which, depending on how you view replayability, it's a lot of replayability. So I am really enjoying Dungeon Pages. You can check it out on P&P Arcade if you want to jump in. There's a ton of content. I think there's a ton of content in the core set already. And if that's your thing, a dungeon delve solo roll and write game, Dungeon Pages.
Okay, I've not heard of this one actually.
Excellent. So my game to talk about has also dice and also monsters. It is
Ooh.
called The King of Monster Island, which sounds familiar, or at least similar to games that you might be familiar with. This is the cooperative version of King of Tokyo. Designer here is Richard Garfield. He has taken the reins here again. The artist is Paul Matallone. I don't know if Paul did the art for previous iterations of King of Tokyo, but it's very similar in art style to King of Tokyo, King of New York, games you might be familiar with. It's a larger box. than King of Tokyo, and a board that requires more space, a larger board too, that has a plastic and cardboard volcano in the center that you're going to throw dice into, like enemy dice. Let me back up for a second. The story is that you are a bunch of King of Tokyo style monsters, but there's a bigger monster in town that's wreaking havoc, and you are assembling and teaming up to take down this larger monster. The box has 3 major villains at 2 different levels of difficulty, so you got basically 6 baddies to take on. And there are 2 types of dice. There's the standard King of Tokyo style dice that have the symbols you are trying to roll, but then the bad guy is going to also roll these monster dice, attack dice, that get spread out. The volcano's in the center of the board, and you throw dice into it, and those dice explode into the sectors of the board. There's 6 of them.
That's cool.
And the bad guy's going to move toward the area with the most bad dice. And when they get there, they're going to trigger their minions and damage all the monsters who are standing there. And they're going to earn fame, and they're going to start building these pylons. And if they successfully build 3 pylons on the board, they win, and the rest of the players lose. The part that I really like about this, there's a couple of things I really like about it, that you can leave dice for other players. So if you roll symbols that you can't really use, you can just leave them in your sector, and anybody running by can just grab them and use them on their turn, which is very cool. And also, as you become more famous, you attract allies. There's like little ally sheets. And so with 1 fame point, you get 1 little special ability. When 5 fame points, you get more abilities. So you're not scoring points like you are in other iterations of the game, but you get stronger as you become more well-known. Of course, the bad guy also has fame, and as they collect more fame and become more well-known, they become more powerful too. So it's this arms race sort of feel. It's still a dice game. It still can get really random, especially if those attack dice cluster in one zone and keep coming out in the same zone. You're going to get the same monster getting pounded all the time, which can hurt. But it's good fun. And I was a little unsure in the middle of the game, but by the end, it was a nice tight battle. And I have since ordered a copy that should be here in a few more days. So King of Monster Island, I really enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to playing with the family.
So this is a new game then?
This is new, 2022 is the official title, but I didn't see it available until the past month or so.
Okay, I had not even heard of it. My friends love King of Tokyo, so this sounds like something that'd be right up their alley.
Team up, fight a big monster.
So my colleague at Restoration Games, Justin Jacobson, made sure I got a copy of this game, and he gifted me a copy, and I have it. I was so tickled to see this on your list, because what I did is, and Mandi knows this, is sometimes I'm very old, Eric, and I tire very easily.
I see.
And so I will set up a game with no intent to play it, but I just want to get it set up, and then the next day I can go back and learn it, right?
There you go.
So I actually have this
you gotta
game.
take a break.
Yeah, I need to refresh myself. I actually have this set up on our table right now for us to play over the weekend, and so it was awesome to see it on your list and to hear your impressions. I'm really excited.
I look forward to hearing how your kids like it.
Yes. Well, this is a game we're going to talk about next that's shared. Suzanne and I are going to share this experience with you for the game called Oros. And this is designed by Brant Brinkerhoff. Art is by Brant Brinkerhoff, and it's published by Lucky Duck Games. That's who we received our review copy from. It's for 1 to 4 players, and it plays in about 60 to 120 minutes, and it retails. The regular version retails for about $48.95 Canadian. There is a deluxe version that I believe is over the $100 mark Canadian. Suzanne, did you want to do a summary? Because we've done a review stream of this. So if you want to see more detail and more opinion about this game, we'll link that up here so you can do that. But we'll do a brief synopsis here in a review.
Sure. So Oros is largely an action selection game in which players are competing to build up their tribe in this island-based society. And, you're climbing up the temple and trying to get ascension points. And once you get to 15 points, you likely win the game. The parts of the game are really your personal player boards, and then the shared board that has a bunch of island tiles with numbers 1 through 4 on them. And what you're going to do is you're going to be using your actions to move these tiles around, build sacred sites on top of them, and move your people around to ultimately gain points as well in a variety of different ways. One of the things that the board does is that you are actually, a couple of the actions allow you to push these tiles. This is how you move them. So you will actually be sliding the tiles and they will nudge each other and potentially have them wrap around the board, wrap around corners, etc., or collide into each other. And when you have, say, a 2 and a 2 collide, it turns into a number 4 tile.
Right.
If you have a 4 and a 4 collide, it turns into a mountain tile. And mountain tiles don't really move much. They're, which that's a different issue. And that kind of thing. You can get volcanoes, and volcanoes will grow and ultimately erupt and create new tiles on the board. You can build up shrines on different tiles. You can send your followers to study at these shrines, and so on and so forth. On the action selection board, you've got these tracks that allow you to do different actions like move and place followers and all this other stuff, and you can grow them in levels. Like it's almost like a tech tree in which you can advance potentially your strength. So all of a sudden move actions become more powerful. You can travel over water. You can move mountains eventually, that kind of element as well. And you play until somebody manages to get 15 points. That triggers endgame, and at the end of the game, everybody's equal turns, and whoever has the most points wins.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good summary of the game. I mean, yeah, so we have thoughts on this one. I mean, overall, let's start off by saying I definitely think there are a lot of people who are really into, that spatial movement in games, really going to enjoy that kind of puzzling and really like the action selection on the board, which is something that I also enjoyed. I struggled a little bit with this one. And I don't know if that's a me thing, but I didn't find it overly intuitive. So something that I feel like maybe I should have gotten after a couple explanations, I felt like I continually had to ask or question because I just wasn't sticking with me and it wasn't super clear. So that's just something to note. But like I said before, I did appreciate the action selection and puzzling part of it. I really liked that. I also had some issues with some things in the rule book, and I know Suzanne and I talked about this a little bit. Just the way it was laid out, I think, was a bit problematic. I found myself when I was explaining something. We'll get to that. And I'm like, well, I should have just talked about that first. Do you know what I mean? To make it easier. So I feel like they laid out the book based on how the actions were listed on the board instead of what made sense to talk about first. And I didn't like the placement of where some things like do this. I'm like, well, that really shouldn't be in setup. That should be like your first step of gameplay. So just little things like that just made the experience a little bumpy for me. And then the downtime. This is not a game you can plan. You can plan, but guaranteed you're going to have to rethink it when your turn comes around because things move, the tiles move, and so if you're okay with that, sure, no problem. Or maybe you play with people who are a little bit faster, but I'm telling you, there is some downtime. So if that's not something that you can sit with, literally, then that might not be something for you. So Suzanne, I know I missed a few things there, but I'll let you polish that up.
No, I think that's great. I think the things I would add is that the tile sliding was something I was really excited about because I love like video games that do that, like Threes or 2048, Triple Town. Exactly, Eric. I was so excited that this game offered that similar concept, at least. And I did enjoy it conceptually. I found it to be a touch bit fiddly.
Yeah.
Part of me could, though, expect that, to be fair to the game. Like you, Mandi, I loved the action selection and how that worked, but I think you really nailed it with the word intuitive. This game just didn't play out intuitively.
Right.
And I found in my first play that at the beginning of the game and 2 hours later, I was still asking myself or my co-players the same questions. Is this how this would move? Is this correct? How does this volcano overflow? Are we doing this correctly? And you would feel from the beginning of the game, totally natural, totally expected. But by the end of the game, I would want those questions to not be questions anymore, right? And we just found that we just weren't confident in that we were playing it correctly. And that carried over to a future play as well, where you felt like you knew a little bit better, but you were still unsure. And I'm not quite, I don't know why that is, but it ultimately put an extra cognitive load. So you weren't just thinking about how do I strategize winning the game? you
Right.
were really cognitively going, am I playing this correctly? If I do this, is that actually what it does? And so that kind of dampened the experience overall there. But it is to me, it's a very visually attractive game.
Yes.
I like that action selection, and I suspect that there are going to be players out there that will the movement and stuff will click more for them, and so they may get a little more out of that experience.
Oh, absolutely. And component quality, I played, and I think
Yeah, it's
Suzanne
lovely.
had the same version. We just had the regular version, and the component quality was quite good. I mean, the deluxe one is fantastic looking, but overall, really nice. And I had friends where they grokked this and were like, yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, at the ranch, I'm like, yep, still on, level 1. So, Oros, a good game. Definitely there are people who will enjoy it. I just don't know if it's one that really is stuck with me and something that I will continue to play.
Well, my second game to talk about, I can't remember if either of you mentioned this here on this program. Have either of you played Starship Captains?
Not
think
yet.
it
Nope.
was me. Is that the CGE game?
It
Yes.
is a Czech
Yes.
Games Edition game, and
Yes.
I should have known, as you are
No.
the space game player. And oh yeah, I'm sorry, it just blew my mind. So
Oh, shots
Starship
fired!
Captains.
Eric, it's so
Starship-
great having you here.
You
I had
too.
to. I had to. Starship Captains. I won't go into too much detail,
No,
since
it's fine.
I'm sure you already did. It's a game by Peter Hofgaard from Czech Games Edition. It is styled after basically, I think, the next generation phase of Star Trek. So you are flying a ship around, and you've got your various cadets. Actually, not cadets. Cadets are the gray characters. The ensigns come in different colors because they specialize in different activities. The red ones can fly the ship. The yellow cadets can, or the yellow ensigns can fight. They can run the phaser cannons and blow up aliens. And the blue cadets can. I keep saying cadets. The blue ensigns can upgrade your ship. They're the engineering ones. So you collect machinery, you get bonuses for connecting symbols, and you repair your ship. Because it's at the beginning of the game, some of the slots of your ship are damaged because it's a used ship. I love that little touch. You've got this secondhand ship, and so you have to fix it right off the get-go. You're collecting cargo by taking out aliens and running around and completing missions. I really enjoy the whole mechanism of this game. You use your characters, and then they go into a slot that then cycles back around for your next round, but not everyone gets to come back. All but 3 of your characters get to come back. You will gradually get more cadets that you can train up to be specialists, or even take one of those specialists and train it to be a commander, which gives it basically a double action. And there's not a ton of like attacking each other in this game. The most you can do is swipe resources or missions from other players. So that's the chief interaction. It's not too bad, but occasionally you can be like, I see you're going for that mission, and sort of fly in and take care of it first. I'm torn on the playtime on this game.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think it moves at a really good clip. I think it is the right length, because if it went too much longer, I think it would overstay its welcome, but I wanted more. Like, I wanted to fly around more and get more cadets and more equipment, and I wanted to build up my ship and have more of that experience. But I totally understand it has an arc. It only runs 4 rounds.
Right.
And it probably would overstay its welcome in a 5th round, even though I wanted to do more of it. So I guess that's a good thing.
I was going to say, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
And it does move at this is, I think, under an hour of playtime. Once people understand what's going on. I like the way new missions come out on the board. They come out in sort of a cascade. There's 5 or 6 tokens based on the number of players. And as you complete missions, new missions will show up. But once all those tokens have been spent, there's a big alien attack, and then they all reset. But you can see where the new missions are going to come out. So you could actually just camp on a planet knowing somebody's going to complete a mission elsewhere on the board, and boom, I'm ready to do it. And the illustrations for the missions are really entertaining and tongue-in-cheek, and lots of sci-fi references. It's a very well put together product, and I'm excited to play more Starship Captains.
It was good. Yeah, I liked it.
I gotta
Please,
get it.
you
Oh,
gotta
no,
get- you
I
gotta get
can't.
on
I'm
it.
not buying more games. Stop it. Stop talking me to buy more games. Both of you.
Uh-huh.
Eric, darn it.
You just have to come over and you can play it here.
There you go. See?
Don't
Just swing on by.
don't tempt me. Steph and
gonna
I could
show
hang
up.
out and knit and make
You're
fun
gonna
of you.
show up and
It would be
have knitting in
amazing.
hand. Oh boy. You know what? Let me reconsider.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, we're busy.
The instant regret is amazing.
Wah, wah.
Well, thank you all for that lovely recap of some games we've been playing.
Yeah.
Eric, you know what time it is now.
Is it pie time?
Yes.
Yay!
Yes, it is. All right, everybody. Game pie. I feel like it has been so long, and even just reading. So we have a script, right, that we just make little notes on. And just the conversation of how to get to this game pie is hilarious. I think I started with a "Hey pal, it's been a while" kind of games, like 10 to 15 years old. And this is something Suzanne had suggested. Games that are old. Like us.
Old
So-
friends, good old friends. That's what it was.
So, no older, looking at 2008, 2013. This is Eric chiming in. Sure, I'll use that date range. And I think this concerned us a little bit because I'm like, are we old? Do we know games that are that old? It was a whole thing. So, if you haven't figured it out by now, we are looking at games that are kind of old, like us. Sort of.
Kind of old, like us, sort of.
Yes. Yes.
Let's run with it.
Done.
That's a
Done
title.
and done.
I like it. Anybody who listens to this, you know this is actually a tame title for me. So here we go. All right. So the first one on my list, of course, it has to be a Feld. Bora Bora. And this was in 2013. Now, let me be clear. I haven't played this game in a really long time, but when I did play it, I really enjoyed it. And I think for me, the thing that drew me in was the art style. I love the colors, the brightness. Why are you making that face, Suzanne?
I don't know if I've ever heard anybody say that they love the art in Bora Bora,
Sorry.
and that's more power to you.
Maybe-
I have no objection. I'm sorry.
Well, I
My
shouldn't say.
face.
Well, no, I misspoke. I didn't mean the art. I like the colors. And sorry, my brain, art and color, they're different. I like the colors, and because a lot of games you see are so dull, and this one just was like, bam, I'm here for it. So I knew what I was working with, and I liked it. And it's a Feld game, right? So you know it's a lot of action resolving in different spots on the board, and I'm about that life. And anything that has dice in it, I also tend to gravitate toward. But namely, it's a Feld that I enjoy. So Bora Bora, Chef's Kiss, love.
I will say that this may be the most difficult game pie I've ever had to do.
Really?
Because if you look at the games that were released in the first decade
Yeah.
of the 2000s, any single year, it
Oh, yeah.
has the most phenomenal evergreen title list that it's what a decade. So here I am trying to cool down. I'm like, okay, I have 78 titles I could choose from for the 3 slots I have. Great. So grain of salt this one, because I got a lot of other ones I could have slotted in here. So
Fair.
but for my first title, I decided to go with Keyflower, 2012 release, part of the fairly well-known Key series, but one of my favorites, one of the heavier ones, in which it's an auction game. You're bidding for meeples, you're getting tiles, you're trying to build up a little engine, there's a little bit of economy going on. I don't typically love auction games, but here we have Keyflower, and it works so well for me. I mean, that just says a lot about Keyflower, that it's an auction game that I love with the right people.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was
Keyflower is a great 2 to 3 hour game. It is not a great 6.5 hour game. I'm just gonna put it out there.
No. Few things are, I would say.
But Keyflower, it's
Yeah.
not the game's fault. Keyflower, phenomenal game, 2012.
So I found it helpful to limit things to the title that Mandi originally proposed. I thought this was actually the title for the list. Hey pal, it has been a while kind of game.
Oh!
So I specifically
Oh!
was going for games that were 10 to 15 years old that I hadn't played in a
Oh,
while.
well, you know what, Eric?
It's
You
phenomenal.
technically interpret that
Eric,
correctly
you
in
know
my
Mandi.
brain.
You know Mandi
So-
well enough. You should speak Mandi. Come on. There's no excuse
no,
here.
that was I just got out Mandied there, so you know.
You did
I
actually.
feel
This
like-
is phenomenal interpretation.
I thought we were talking to the game. Hey, pal, it's been a while. I haven't played. You go to it on the shelf. So I excluded ones from this date range that I have been playing recently. So my first selection is Alien Frontiers, a game I haven't played in a while. Alien Frontiers was one of the first Kickstarter successes, back when a Kickstarter success was $40,000. But I think that's about maybe like 40 to 60,000 is what Alien Frontiers made, and it was considered this huge success for Kickstarter. Alien Frontiers is one of the first dice allocation games where you use it's worker placement, but your workers are dice. I think Kingsburg came before it, but I like the theme of Alien Frontiers. You're rolling your dice; they're your ships, and you move them around the board to claim resources, which you are eventually turning into habitats like domes that go on the board. So there's area control, there's action selection, worker placement. It's a blast. I really love Alien Frontiers, and it's one that I need to bring out again because it's been a while. Alien Frontiers.
Oh, well done, sir. Well done. Oh goodness. Well, the next slice of pie on my list, well, it's nice because it's vinos. It's wine paired with some. What cheesecake would go good with that? Haven't decided.
Regular?
Right? Maybe something with like a blackberry. Rich blackberries.
Sure. You wouldn't want to overwhelm the wine, though.
Mandy,
so
I'm hungry. Don't
sweet.
talk about cheesecake.
Fair. Okay, I digress, but I'm here. I'm open to suggestions. So Vinos, and yes, I'm part Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese, and I completely butchered that. So Vital, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but it does mean wine in Portuguese. I know that, and that's literally what it is. You're trying to maximize your vineyard to create wine and, well, make money. So this is definitely on the heavier scale of games, and this is 2011, I believe, is when the original came out. But then they launched a newer version, which had a double-sided board. So you have the original version on one side and then the new version on the other. So Vinos, for me, it's one I keep coming back to. Love, love, love. Gosh, actually, I haven't played that one in a while, though, but I do enjoy it. So there you go. It fits the theme. Vinos.
All right. Next up for me, I have played this not like fairly recently, especially because I play the app version. 2008, Le Havre. Folks who know me for a while know that Uwe Rosenberg is one of my all-time favorite designers, and Le Havre is just a great game. A little bit heavier with some worker placement, and you are a lot of resources. I mean, it's so Uwe, right? It's just such an Uwe game. And also the one in which I think, along with Agricola, but really hammered home that feed your people thing that everyone hates. But, Uwe's not here to make you happy. He's here to make you think.
That's so Uwe.
Yeah, so that's so Uwe. That's a show in the making right there.
Right.
Le Havre is just an excellent example of some of his heavier worker placement games with a ton of resource management. I would suggest it's almost less refined than some of his more modern designs in a positive way. It almost feels stuffed full, just like that holiday dinner that you ate just one portion too much, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And I love Le Havre for so many reasons. That's why it's on this game pie.
I have not played this Mac Gertz game in a little while. That's Concordia. Mac Gertz is somewhat known for his rondel or use of the rondel mechanism. But Concordia is a departure from that because the rondel, the actions that you select, are not printed in a circular manner on the board. They're printed on the cards that you have in your hand. And that is your limiting factor, what cards you have. But you will be getting more of them, basically adding wedges to the rondel that exists in your hand. It also, the cards that you're drafting into your hand determine your scoring opportunities. So you will not only be getting the ability to do certain actions more often, but also the ability to score in a particular manner more often and more strongly. Anyway, there's lots of different versions of Concordia. There's a partnership map that is really, really cool. Different maps that you can play on. It's a lovely game. It's one of his designs I don't own, which is probably one of the reasons why I haven't played it recently. But one that I sort of want to come up, put it on the shelf and say, hey, pal, it's been a while.
Amazing.
Concordia.
Oh boy. Well, my last slice of pie actually fits me very well. Pret-a-porter. And I actually did a video of this one when it launched and on the Dice Tower. So if you want to check that out and see all the fabulous outfits I'm wearing, that would be one to look at. And that the original came out in 2010, but then they relaunched it at a later time with different art and things like that, and I think updated some of the rules. And this one's great because, well, pret-a-porter, ready to wear. So it's about fashion. And it is like it's an economic game. So, I mean, you really have to manage, your funds and then the way you're taking your actions, because the way they play out, which is really interesting, you're like, okay, I'll do this here. But then keeping in mind the next step might affect what you had done from the previous step. Just those little things made that game really interesting to me. And I love the fact that you have cubes that are determining like the threads that you're using for your clothes or the materials. I know these are little things. People are like, whatever, but I used to be in the fashion world, so those little details matter. So Pret-a-porter, really enjoyed that one.
Mandi, I got to play this for the first time this past week on the Dice
Yay!
Tower cruise. I
Really?
had never had a chance to do it. In fact, I hovered when you were teaching it at a convention once,
Oh, yeah.
but never got to sit down and actually try it. It is a lovely game, a deep game,
Yes.
and sort of there's a lot of pressure because not only do you only have a little bit of time to get your fashion ready for that quarterly fashion show, but also
Yes.
you have to pay your people. Forget feeding your people.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to pay them cash in order to keep your business moving. And so there's literal overhead that you
Oh, yeah.
have to deal with to keep your
Constantly.
business running without going bankrupt. And I think I was within $1 or $2 of going bankrupt in the first play, but I managed to ride that wave. And by like the second or third season, I was rolling in cash and just like making fashion, baby.
I'm here for it. Yes.
It was very, very cool. Great game. Excellent choice.
My last game in this pie is 2012's Targi. A 2-player only worker placement game in which you create a grid of actions, and the exterior of this grid is where you're going to be placing your pawns. And then if you were to draw lines from where the pawns stand, the card at that intersection is where you will ultimately take an action. But the way that you place these workers around the border to block spaces and how that impacts the potential spots that your opponent can take is so excellent. I cannot even deal with how good it is. Targi is from 2012. It is an evergreen title. It is a game that anybody who likes worker placement should at least play. It's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. I love it, love it, love it. Targi, I mean, honestly, Targi is a top 40, top 50 game for me easily. So Targi 2012, if you haven't played it, please do. It's so good.
It's a really good one.
This was also not on my played list until just recently. It showed up on
Really?
Board Game Arena. And so a few people, I think I mentioned somewhere that I hadn't ever played it, and I got maybe 4 or 5 invitations immediately on Board Game Arena. Well, I'll teach it to you. So then I was suddenly in 4 or 5 games of Targi and couldn't remember what I was doing in any single one of them,
Sure.
but had a lovely time. It's a great game.
Excellent. Excellent.
So good.
So last selection for me that really hasn't hit the table in a while is Takenoko, the game with the adorable panda and the growing of bamboo shoots. And you're trying to achieve certain conditions in order to score points in Takenoko. You maybe want a particular color of bamboo to be at a certain height, or you want to have collected a certain amount of bamboo. And you're guiding the panda around, and the panda's going to eat the bamboo, and then the bamboo will grow, and you are trying for a particular board state, while somebody next to you may not want that board state. They might be quite upset that you just made the yellow bamboo grow. And it's adorable. It's an adorable game with some very cute pieces and some lovely gameplay, and one that I should get to the table because it's been a while. That's Takenoko.
Excellent choice, Eric.
Yes, I agreed.
And just such a lovely take on.
If you had
on this
allowed me
pie.
to go with a wider date range, though, I was going to go for a 35-year-old title for my last selection. See, there's this game. It's set in space. Mandi, you'd love it.
Oh yeah.
It's a pick up and deliver game. where you fly around in a spaceship and you buy stuff, but that's outside the range. So I know how strict you are about rules here on Game Pie. So I'm not allowed to talk about it.
I don't know, Eric. You kind of just threw it out there already. So, I mean...
It's called Merchant of Venus. It's great.
All right. That's enough out of you. We're done. We're done.
You're done.
It.
You're done.
That's a wrap.
I'm cut off.
Seriously, Summer.
I'm silencing your mic.
I feel like that was a very good Pitch Perfect moment there. You're cut off.
Indeed. Well...
Yeah.
Eric, thank you for being here. Truly,
Thank you for
a
having
delight.
me. This has been lovely.
Yay.
It truly is. Anybody who used to listen to us on Dice Tower knows that Eric is. We always have fun with Eric,
Absolutely.
whether we're laughing at the intentional things or not. That's for you to decide. There you go.
Yes.
Heyo. Next episode, we've got a little bit of news that we'll be sharing with you. If you've got any questions for us, feel free to drop them to us. Got a little busy. We fallen a little bit behind. And by we, I mean me on the guild, but I'm jumping back in. So apologies for that. I don't want to cast blame where it belongs here. I admit it. But email we're on top of. So, hey, you can email us at saltandsassgames@gmail.com. Or please join us in our guild, and I promise that I will catch up. And thank you so much for everybody who's been covering my bootay there. I appreciate it. That's Board Game Geek Guild 4131 for Salt and Sass. And Mandi, I know you've got the whole spiel for us for our channels and our social media too.
Yes, but before I get into the socials, I should have said this earlier. I really think we should have a poll about the what would you rather situation.
We can do that.
I think this is an idea. So
okay.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see who picks rules lawyers over White Russian Big Lebowski.
And we need to know, feel free to put why if, in the comments. But back to our socials. You can find Salt and Sass Games on the Twitter. So that's Salt in Sass Games. I know everyone wants to put and, but it's not. We're also on YouTube and the Twitch, so Salt and Sass Games. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at 613Mandi. That's Mandi with an I.
And you can find me on every platform out there, old and new and emerging, at 425 Suzanne. And Eric, where can folks find you?
Primarily on Twitter. I'm at Eric Summerer there, or you can go to audible.com and search for my name, and you'll find all sorts of audiobooks you can listen to.
Yes.
Highly recommended, folks. Highly recommended. If you need some personal recommendations, hit us up. I can make some very special personal recommendations for some underappreciated Eric Summer narrated titles.
This worries me to no end.
Well,
as it should.
But wait, and you know what? I meant to ask you this, Eric. There was a headless ride. Oh, goodness.
Rise, Headless, and Ride, the modern retelling of the Jason Crane
Did they
story.
come out with a new one?
There are 4 available, and as far as I know, the author's working on a 5th.
All right, I got to be patient then. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. It's really good.
As always, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. It is a pleasure and a privilege to be part of your extended gaming family. We are so grateful for you for listening and watching and chatting us up. Eric, we are also grateful for you as well. Thanks so much for livening up this episode and for joining us.
Yes.
We will insist you join us again sometime in the future.
Ooh, okay. Sure, I'm in.
Until next time, everyone, stay healthy and hydrated out there and play some games. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. If you'd like to support the podcast, please check us out on coffee.com, Salt and Sass Games. Thank you for your support. Salt and Sass is produced with love by Suzanne and Mandi, and we'll be back next episode with more salt, more sass, and more games.